Hey, hello, everyone. Welcome back. And today we're so happy to have Lynn. It's Lynn, right?
Lynn, yeah.
Lynn with us, and she's going to deliver the last session of our leadership training from SciLead. And without further ado, I'll give you the floor, Lynn.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm so happy to be here and talk to you today and do this workshop with you and find out more about you, but also that you can experience a bit of what we put together for you in this final workshops. Just to let you know, you see that neither Verena nor Diana are here yet. I think Diana will join, but she's just in a meeting and that just ended 4:30. So let's give her a few minutes to come back. So you will see her again as well, because she also wanted to come back to facilitate a bit, help me also with the chat. In general, I invite you to put like all the questions in the chat. I will in shortly I will share my screen, then to give you the presentation. Then I may not be able to see the chat anymore. It's a bit weird, but Lamis already said she will help me with this, and Diana will also help. So whenever you have a question, just write it in the chat, and um, we can deal with it then. And there are a few exercises just to let you know. We'll try to do this with breakout rooms if this is not working because of internet connection, for example, or if we see we need like more time for an exercise, it's also possible to switch there. Okay, let's start. I will share my screen. It takes a bit of time because I'm always like, there are so many icons now at Zoom that you have to check, okay, where is it? Mm, But now you should see my screen, the presentation, a toolbox for leadership. This is working now? Yes, great.
Yes.
Okay, so welcome everybody to this workshop. As you see, Diana is on the slide and she will join shortly. In general, what we do, what you've probably already know from the other workshops that we did, we normally do a little check-in at the beginning of each of our workshops. And we normally have a question that we ask our participants so that they can see where am I today? How do I arrive in this workshop today? And we would like you to use the chat for this and just give us an emoji. What is your inner weather today? Are you super sunny? So like super excited. I see already a heart. Or is it more like a cloudy day because you feel like, okay, I have a lot of brain fog. I don't know what I want to do. Is it more rainy or are you super angry and maybe it's more a thunderstorm? Give us a few emojis in the chat. And if you like, write in the chat what you are looking forward to. There's scene. Could you please put the screen in presentation mode? I have to ask you because I can't see it due to the split that I have here at work. You should see the presentation, but probably also some icons in the beginning, but you should not see my presentation mode. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can see the slides. There's just like
But you
the
see
web
like the
page.
docs Google.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But that's
Unfortunately, I
okay.
can't change that. It's because of the computer that I'm using at the moment. So I hope it's still big enough.
It is okay. I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay, it's rainy and cloudy here. I'm very busy today doing some assessments. Yeah. You know, weather today is quite hot and busy. This is nice. Okay, if you want to, you can also write down what you are looking forward to. Oh, busy since the morning. Yeah, Samira, I can relate. I had a bit of the same. +1, yeah. Okay, looking forward to now. That's always good. Okay, then let's start. You can also, of course, still write in that. I will see it, hopefully. Okay, just to give you an overview where we are at the moment, what so where we are at the moment, what we have already done. This is the third workshop in our series. We started with the workshop one, the basic concepts of leadership and defining your leadership identity. This was with Verena, and the workshop two in leadership in communities. And what did you learn there? So in the first workshop, it was a lot about competencies and data, but also self-leadership, like which kind of leadership identity do you want to have? What are your values? What are your core beliefs in this? And in the second workshop, it was more focused on leadership in communities and how to tailor your leadership style a bit to the community that you're in at the moment. Diana also presented the concept of spiral dynamics, which helps to understand a community and the values of the community, and also sometimes the behavior of a community. Because depending on which stage you are, there are different steps that are needed for the community that you're working with or that you also want to build. And this workshop is called Toolbox for Challenges and Tips for Effective Community Building. And in general, this is a very broad term, and we only have 1.5 hours. So, of course, we can't get all of the things covered that we would love to have, but we put together a bit of some tools that you can use, and especially that you can come back to over your community building journey, to always come back to these tools to tune them to your current need. And some of these tools you can use on your own, and some of them you can use in your group that you're working with. Okay, so let's get started. But first things first, I want to introduce me to you so that you know with whom you're dealing with today. My name is Linn. I am a biochemist by training. I started studying biochemistry in 2009, which is already 15 years ago, and did a bachelor and a master's degree in this. I have to admit, I failed a lot of the things that I did. So I failed my first two master's degrees, or I quit them after half a year because I realized this is not what I want to do. And then I went back to biochemistry and finished this master. Then I did I always call this my first try in PhDing, because I started a PhD in plant biochemistry, and due to different circumstances, and bad leadership was one of them. I quit this after 1.5 years and said, okay, I'm not going to be finished with this in the time that I have. And also, I don't feel good in the circumstances that I am in the working conditions that I am in. I can't do this. This is not good for my health, both physical and mental. So I quit my first PhD, and then I did the second PhD in toxicology. Toxicology. This I finished in 2020. And from there on, I'm a toxicological consultant. If you look at that generally, you think, okay, this is a very science-based CV, which is true. But I want to tell you that because of this first try in PhD in the plant biochemistry sciences and the poor working conditions there, I had a big focus in my second PhD on the working conditions that I was employed in the second one. And I tried with the students that I supervised, we tried different methods of working together, different methods of leadership. I became more interested in leadership and project management and did some further education there. And then I met the other people, as you have already seen, Verena, Diana, Daniela, and we founded SciLead. And we normally use these different expertises that we have. So For example, what I did as well is I am a process facilitator. So I did this further education to be better in like understanding what is actually going on in the different work environments that I am in. And also I realized that I am actually in different work environments. So my work environment in the institute that I was PhDing it in was different, of course, than the working environment from SciLead, which is a voluntary organization. And this at SciLead, we draw from these different experiences and put them together into workshops. And now I really want to start for the with a toolbox for community leadership. And this is our outline today. So we will tackle 3 things because we were asking ourselves, like, okay, you want to build a community, but the community should also be resilient. No, it should be, um, you will probably face challenges. And the best thing that you can be as a community is then to be resilient. But you need a good plan to get to this resiliency. And we identified 3 core things. So the first one is motivation. Why do you do what you do? The second is infrastructure, roles, and skills. And the third is flexibility. We will talk about all of them today. But the very first thing I want to share with you is this little fable by Aesop about resilience. What is actually resilience? And this fable says an oak and a reed were arguing about their strengths. When a strong wind came up, the reed avoided being uprooted by bending and leaning with the gusts of wind. But the oak stood firm and was torn up by the roots. And by this, we already see what I hinted at in the previous slide, that you need both strengths and flexibility. You need a good foundation, good roots. I almost did a PhD in plant biochemistry, so I'm fascinated by plants, different plant structures, how they look, what kind of roots they have. And if you look at oaks, they have really, really strong roots. But of course, they are not flexible. Reed has different roots. They're also flexible, but sometimes they go very, very far into the earth. So it also has strong roots, but it can bend. And this is why we are going to look at both. We're going to look at the roots, which for us is the motivation about what you do that you do. Then we will look at the kind of the how your organization looks, which for us is the infrastructure and roles, like the physiology. And then we will look at the flexibility of your organization and how you can increase this. And starting with the motivation, I brought you this quote by Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. And let's have a look at motivation. What is it? What can we do about it? Why is it so hard? So, the importance of motivation. Motivation is actually a driving force of human behavior. If you are motivated, you want to do something. So you have this intrinsic drive to work in a field that you're at. This is probably the reason that you are here today. I just read in your check-ins that you all have very, very busy days. That there was a lot on your plate today, and still you made the time to be here and do a workshop on community leadership and a toolbox here. This already shows that you have a high intrinsic drive. Of course, there can be extrinsic drives. So, for example, money is one of the most common named, that you have like, if you get paid, you're more motivated to do something. However, from a community perspective or community leadership, money is actually not that important, at least for most of us. No, I don't know. We don't get paid normally for the workshops that we do, but we still really, really are motivated to do them because we like what we do. And this also, if you have this intrinsic drive, this enhances your creativity. And also it sparks like social connection. we have a way to talk to each other, but also um, I am, as you may see, I'm super excited about that the work that I do with SciLead, and I love to talk about that. So whenever I am at a science event, I like to talk about SciLead, and then someone else comes to me and says like, I've heard about this initiative, or I am in this initiative, and then this sparks conversation, and we are way more connected than we have been before. But for all of this, it's really good to actually know your motivation and also know why you do what you do. And with this, we want to go to the first exercise that we are having because sometimes, can be kind of hard to actually identify why. So what is the reason for this? For the things that you do, because sometimes you give like this very broad answer and it's a lot, but like, what is the real reason? Why is it that you come back to what you want to do all over again and again and again? And it doesn't matter if it's hard, and it doesn't matter if you don't get funding, and it does not matter if, I don't know, a team member can't work today and you have to take over the work and so on. This is the question, why do you do what you do? And the easiest thing to actually understand why you do what you do is to ask this and talk about this. And this is why we want to do what we want to do. I know you have probably been in the other meetings that we're doing, so we love sharing circles. And this is like a kind of a short version of an exercise that we sometimes do to find your motivation. And I will give you the long version later. You can do that after the workshop, for example. So during the next 10 minutes, I would love you to go into breakout rooms and in breakout rooms of 3 people. And then each of you has really 2 minutes time. And I would love for you to actually really take the time to talk about why you do what you do or why you want to do what you do. If you plan for a community to build, why do you want to build it? And take the 2 minutes and really talk about it. From start to finish. Let someone else take the time and they say, okay, you can start now. And they also give you a stop. You will realize 2 minutes is quite a lot. So, and it's absolutely fine if this is not a coherent speech. You will just go on, talk a bit. Then maybe there is another reason. There is another reason. Just get that verbalized. And then after 2 minutes, it's the next person's turn. And then after 2 minutes, the next person. And once all of 3 of you have talked for 2 minutes, take 1 minute to crystallize from what you have said. One sentence. Why you do what you do. Why you want to do what you do. And write the sentence down somewhere so that you can look on it at it later. Any questions for this before you go into the breakout rooms? I see none in the chat.
Hello,
Ami?
hello.
Yeah. Yes, hi.
Yeah, yes, from me, I'm Paul. From me, I understood what you are talking about, but from me, there is no question yet.
Because you did not start a community yet?
Yes, I've started a community.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Then, okay, maybe
Yeah. Okay.
we can do a little example.
Yeah.
I will ask you now, Paul, can you tell me what were the reasons for you personally to start this community? Why did you want to do this?
Yes, the reason for creating that community is that we want to solve a lot of problems that relate to my profession in Nigeria. And that was the reason why we created it. And not that alone, we collaborate together. We publish a lot of researches, articles that we publish together that we also present, we communicate the outcome in international conferences. And those are the reasons why I created that community in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm. But then, okay, you said there are a lot of problems. With which problems is your community initiative dealing? What are the problems that you want to tackle, and why did you decide for the specific problems?
Yeah,
And I mean that you personally.
Okay, personally, I discovered that my profession in community health practice in Nigeria has been some of our rights as far as primary health care is concerned are being downplayed, and because of that, and with some of our connections and academic qualifications, we said, okay, let's come together to fight this through academic works. So that's the reason why we created that, so that we'll be able to promote our profession generally in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. But this would already be like this one sentence that you're having. And this you can write down. Like, I want to tackle the problem X because I was affected by it in way Y. And this is why I created the community with the name of your community. So for me, and what I ask you now is that you go in groups of 3 and you share these motivations from your side. Why do you do what you do? Why did you decide to choose the initiative that you have chosen? Because, like, normally, I don't know, for me, there were like 5 different initiatives that I could have joined, probably 10,000 if I go for like all of the different initiatives in Germany. But I decided for this one initiative. Why did I do this? What was my reason to go into this field of voluntary work, for example? And have that really clearly written down helps me sometimes to remind me, especially if I have a really, really tough day. So, Lamis, is it possible to put the breakout rooms in?
Yes, yes. I'll just launch them. So I think now everyone will have a prompt with their breakout room.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be able to join. Okay, I see people are starting to join. Good, good, good.
Welcome back. Is everyone back or are people still in the breakout rooms?
I think I think everyone is back.
I think, yeah, that's great. I hope you had some nice discussions and were also inspired by what your peers said about why they are doing what they are doing, and also maybe found a bit more or experienced a bit more about your motivation, or there was maybe something that you did not expect, or you expected everything. All of this can happen. This talking about why we actually do what we do can not only be done amongst yourself, but you can also do that in your community. If you ask others who are working with you, like, hey, I don't know, hey, Clara, please tell me, why do you actually do what you do? Why did you choose our initiative to be in this? You build a sense of first of all, of belonging and also of a strong foundation together. And as I said, I want to give you a tool that goes a step further, which goes even deeper than what you did now. Because what we did now was to just ask, like, okay, why do you do this? And then you talk about why do you do this. But if you want to go deeper, there is one way which is actually pretty great. And this is that you continue to ask why. So it's a bit of what I just did with Powell. You can go very, very deep. So if I, for example, say, okay, I joined SciLead because I want to help scientists. And then Diana asked me, why? Why do you want to help scientists? And then I say, because I want to create a work environment where scientists can thrive and can work on the topics that are really important for them. And then Diana asks again, like, why? Why do you want that? Why do you want this? And then I can say, okay, maybe I want to, I've experienced that science can be super stressful, and I wasn't able in my own research to focus on the stuff that I actually on the research itself. I had to focus on my working environment and on thinking about leadership, for example. And I actually don't want that. I want to focus on science. And the question is why? And I can say, like, because I think that science is super important in the world that we live in. And I don't believe that it's good to have this poor working conditions that people flee because they can't work in science anymore. Because we need the scientists to solve the problems that we're having. And this like cascade of asking why goes deeper and deeper to the problem that you want to address. And there you can learn a lot about yourself. You can, of course, use that not only for your initiative, but maybe also for dreams that you're having. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to travel to, I don't know, Italy? Or why do you want to buy a house? Do you want that for example, security reasons? So asking this why, very intentional a few times, gets you deeper and deeper into the core of your motivation of what you want to do. The deeper you go there, the better you know why you put the effort in the first place. And this is what helps you to build a community in the long run. The second point that I mentioned in the beginning was infrastructure. And here I have a quote from Brooke Pierce. Brooke Pierce is a guy that does a lot of Bitcoin stuff. So he works with the internet quite a lot. And he said the internet wasn't useful until some basic infrastructure was built. No, because the internet was around for decades before we actually started to use it. And this was when personal computers could access it, and when people were able to use it. And then all of a sudden, all this creativity popped up, and people used the internet differently, and it expanded to the thing that it is now. And that enables me in southern Germany in a village to talk to you, which is a great, great, great tool, no? And therefore, you understand like infrastructure is super important, and also in organization, infrastructure is important. But what does that actually mean? Like, what does infrastructure in organizations mean? So there are three different columns of infrastructure that we as an organization and SciLead identified for us that are important. Strategic planning. So that means we have a mission and a vision. We have goals and objectives. We know where we want to go. We are open to evaluate our organization and adapt accordingly if we need to, for example. And we have a plan for that. What do we do when X happens? What do we do when Z happens? This is the strategic planning. Then we have the organizational structure. So for example, in an NGO, this can be government and management who's doing what, for example, but also who's responsible for what, or what kind of organizational structure, legal organizational structure do we have? Is it more like corporation style because you want to make money, for example, or is it more a voluntary organization that would benefit, for example, from donations? And this is different. You need to think about that. And it also includes roles and responsibilities. This is especially important in small communities that are just at the start, and we will talk about that later. But also infrastructure contains the technology and information system. How is data shared? What is our communication channel, for example, like our communication channel? Very basic. Do we use, like, for example, WhatsApp, or do we use email, or do we use, I don't know, letters? Whatever works for you. Do we only communicate in person? How do we store the data that we have? So, for example, our mission and vision. How can everyone access it? But also IT tools that can help you. I actually don't know any organizations anymore that don't use IT tools. So you will probably get this one way or the other. But also the IT infrastructure. So which website provider do we use, and so on and so on. We will today look at evaluation and adaptation, roles and responsibilities, and I will give you a broad overview about tools that you can use if you want to. Diana already told me that you worked a bit on mission and vision in the last workshop, and we'll come back to this in a bit. But the main focus that we want to put in is evaluation and adaptation, roles and responsibilities, and tools. And we will start with roles and responsibilities because this is super, super important in small organizations, because I don't know about your organizations. We were overwhelmed at some point with all the stuff that we wanted to do and stuff that we needed to do. So, and therefore, we strongly advise you to define roles and responsibilities. What is that? So, generally, a role is a person's place or seat on a team, and responsibilities are the duties and tasks assigned to a role. If you're in a company, you can have different roles, but still like one job, because the roles are detached from your job. Diana already said that in NGOs, in initiatives, normally you have more than one hat on because you have different roles. But what could these roles be? So, for example, they could be a networker. A networker is someone who is in contact with other organizations, talks to them, finds ways to cooperate, and so on. For example, this was Verena for us, who got in contact with Lamis to get this cooperation with us going. You can have a researcher who conducts studies for your topic, for example, gathers data, evaluates the data, and the person ensures that the results are published. And you can, for example, have an admin and finance guru who ensures that bills are paid. So they are looking at the bills that you have, at the funds that you have, if you have any, and maybe also takes care of all things admin. So, for example, checks the email account, or I don't know, the social media accounts, but this could also do the networkers, so on and so on. However, if you, for example, have these three roles, they know where their responsibilities are, but also where their responsibilities are not. So that I know, okay, this falls under my responsibility, but I am not responsible, for example, for putting the workshops that we have on the web page. I am responsible for creating the workshop content because, for example, I have the role of facilitator, and Diana, as the website responsible person, is responsible that the workshop is on the website. So everyone has their own responsibilities and they are separated from each other. But in general, and especially in small organizations, no role is set in stone. So only because I did a workshop now doesn't mean that I will do all the workshops that we are doing. Only because Diana took care of the website during the last month, it doesn't mean that that she has to do this again next week, for example, or next year. However, you need to define the roles and know what the role responsibility is. I already see that Lami said that this is the most important point in my view, having clear roles for each member. Yes, and I can tell you from experience, it takes a lot of time to define roles clearly and also to see which roles are needed and which are not. I would advise you to do this with your organization, but just as a quick highlight, I want to give you an idea about like what roles could be, or better, we're going to brainstorm what roles could be important for your organization. And for this, we can just use the chat. You see that we did this year for like networker and researcher and admin and finance guru. And I want you now to think about your organization, like the organization that you're having now. And what roles would you need in your organization and what would be their responsibility? And maybe give them a fancy name. And please share that in the chat. And we will do this for like 5 minutes. So with this, you can think about your own organization, but you will also see others, what other rights. So now I'm looking forward to see what you're thinking. And maybe Diana, if you're thinking about one of our roles, please do that as well. And we may set a timer with this for 5 minutes to go on, because then we're already at almost 5:30.
So as people are writing, I think I would like to share Emmanuel's and I's, my experience at making Aaron. Because sometimes from our experience and what we thought, sometimes when you're starting something, having a big team is problematic. I don't know if this was just our experience or if this is something that is common, but then when you have many people, then somehow some members wind up, just tagging along and not really helping a lot on doing like some of the heavy lifting, while you find some other members that are doing all of the heavy lifting, but then they don't get the credit, that they deserve. So I would like your advice on that. What do you think? Or how would you deal with
Mm.
those team members that, are just tagging along and not really doing what they're supposed to do?
Mm. I see that Ali raised a hand. Is that already like
Musa,
an Musa,
Musa, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah,
answer, or do you have an idea there?
yeah, no, yeah, I have questions. I have a question. Can I ask a
Okay.
question? Yeah,
Yes, just do it
yeah,
in Lamis. I will keep
No worries, no worries, no worries, no worries.
your question in mind as well. Yeah.
yeah. It's like in an organization where there is high rate of corruption, like
Mm-hmm.
especially in public organization. I know there are clear roles and responsibilities for each members, but there may be some kind of corruption and where there will be a problem. And what kind of solution do you suggest? Maybe things will not go as they are required. I think usually such kind of problem happen in public organization, like can be universities or can be any other organization. And at the end of the day, we will not get what we want because there
Mm-hmm.
will be bias and there will be, I don't know, I think this is a lot of problem
Mm. Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
where most organization in Africa, like where I am, and I don't know.
Yeah. Um, in this, so I will. I have a few questions for this. In this context, you're talking about a community or more of a public space where or a public organization, not a small community that you're leading. Am I correct there?
Yeah, even in a big organization, and we do have higher administratives and also lower at school head, department head, and college, and there are different responsibilities. And such kind of thing can happen at every point, like in academia and also in research. Like if you compete for a grant and that grant will not be shared fairly and it can be biased. I don't know, that will definitely will affect the mission and vision of that organization. I don't know how we can work in such kind of situation. I think this is a reality in most part of Africa. I don't know
Yeah,
where I am.
yeah. I think I see the problem. The question is how applicable that is to when you define the roles and responsibilities yourself, because what the idea for like small communities that you're having and that you're leading in like more an initiative way is that sorry, I was distracted by the chat. Is that you see, okay, what does the community, that you have a bit of freedom and agency in the community that you're having. Of course, if you have corruption and difficulties with people filling in their roles, then the question is of what does the responsibility mean or the accountability when a role is not fulfilled as it should be fulfilled. And this is something that needs to be defined in every organization that you're having. So if you're a small NGO, for example, and someone is not fulfilling their role as they should, is it a possibility to let the to remove the person from the organization? Is that not a possibility? But thinking about, okay, first of all, how can we circumvent that? Is that possible? And the second question for me would be, how do we ensure accountability, or what do we want to do if a role is not met with the deliverables that we defined? For example, if someone is responsible for X and X is not delivered, what happens then? And I can't give you a one solution fits all, because this is a bit something that has to be defined by the organization themselves. Um, is that something that gives you thoughts? Or we also have another hand raised.
It's Emmanuel. Emmanuel, you can
Ah,
speak.
yeah. If
Yeah,
this is
so
for the question
yeah, I
or
wanted
something
to add
different.
to what you just said. I think earlier you talked about the fact that sometimes when you're beginning an organization or community, the roles are not clearly defined, right? So I think that could be a major reason why sometimes you see some of the members not doing so much, because when the roles are not clearly defined, the team relies a lot on people being proactive, right? They just understand certain things and they do them on their own. So when you have a team where there are a lot of people who are not proactive, they want to be clearly given what they should do before they act. Then you realize that you have those discrepancies where few people are really working, but then the others are not working. So I think that point that you said earlier, that sometimes it takes time to clearly define the roles. And I think this may affect how a lot of people may be able to contribute. I mean, at the beginning of, let's say, starting a community and how things may go about. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And maybe also to what Lami said earlier about these like big teams, and then seeing where things are lost and how you drag some people just with you. The question for me would always be, what is, of course, the aim that you are also having? And this may be different from time to time. So, for example, we are at the moment we have 4 active members of SciLead, which is too little. And because we have a lot of ideas, and it would be great if we would have a few more people, even though they were just like dormant and they could just be activated, for example. This would already be great. On the other hand, but we are also not in the stage where we say, okay, for example, we definitely want to make SciLead the basis of our livelihood, so to like earn a lot of money, and therefore it's not needed that we have like that we are so strict for the people that we are working with. It is important for us that for the people that we are working with, the chemistry is right, so that we have a lot of respect, for example, for each other, and the communication works. But it's different, especially for if you, for example, so there is not this this importance of visibility, and we make sure that, for example, if Verena is for just as an example, if Verena facilitates a lot of workshops, and then we also make sure that this is visible in our in our advertisement, for example, or that we say Verena is the expert for, and Diana is the expert, for example, for UX, and we communicate that there are people sometimes that are just drag-alongs, and sometimes that's fine because you need people that are that may come in at a later point, for example, or do, I don't know, social media is for us a very, very tough topic because we all hate it. It would be great to have someone there to just ask like, hey, would you be able to do this for us? Because we don't want to do it. And these people could have an impact later on, or maybe they just didn't find their role yet, and they can be with you. But if your aim is, for example, to make this your livelihood, of course you want to have like less people in the beginning to just get started, and also get enough funding that you can support yourself financially with the organization that you're having. Does that is that an answer for you, Lamis?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Diana, you unmuted yourself. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, just to what you were saying, and also going back to, I think, what Emmanuel was saying about the designing or determining roles at the beginning of an initiative when a group is just getting together and people are just getting to know each other. I think I think it's very important at the beginning to openly ask people, members, what would they foresee themselves doing in the initiative, if they have experience in other initiatives in the past. If so, what were the roles? If there's an area of opportunity or growth that they would like to explore. And then with that information determined, I think I think this facilitates assigning roles. But I think another aspect that is important to set at the beginning is something that you were mentioning, Lynn, and is what happens when somebody is not delivering, no, or tasks are being delayed or so. And in this case, it's really important to establish checkpoints, and a system of I would be against like then delegating somebody from a role immediately when not delivering, but rather ask what is the problem behind it. Everybody has, especially in these kind of initiatives like ours, like the ones that you are going to be establishing yourself, that are like voluntary basis. People have many other activities in the background. There's also personal situations. So always checking in with your members. Why are the reasons why they are not being able to fulfill their role, or they're not able to deliver their task. And yeah, have a feeling at the end. As a leader, you also need to be to develop a sense of understanding which skills might be more developed is not the word that some people have, like different people have different sets of skills, and that helps you determine a lot which roles you might also see they might fit into better. No, so I think a combination, using a combination of like asking people directly since the beginning, where do they see themselves, which roles do they see themselves undertaking, and also you as a leader later on developing, I don't know, after 6 months, a checkup and saying, okay, this person, like a system of determining where is everybody at after 6 months, also allows you to see who might need extra help. And maybe there's definitely going to be occasions in which a person might not be ideal for that role, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't fit into the organization. Maybe means that it fulfills into a different role. That was my contribution.
Yeah, thanks. Also, if you want to have different roles, or look at different roles, or just an inspiration, you can have a look in the chat. I think we will copy them out and send you later, so that you see what other people define as roles in their organization. And then also for infrastructure, we already mentioned that briefly, is software that you may need. With this, I want to close the role thing, move on. Oh yeah, the resource mobilizer, research manager mobilizes funds and reporting. I love that from Thomas as well. But with this, I really close the roles. And we'll just give you a brief overview about software that may help you. We as a organization use Pumble, which is a bit like Slack, but it doesn't cost anything, which is nice. um, we also use Trello. Trello is very, very basic task management, but helps a lot. You can use Notion, which is a project management tool, and Miro, which can prepare you for where you can prepare whiteboards, but it's way cooler. And if you have a knack for like creative stuff, you can do anything there. It's great, but it costs. I think you have like one whiteboard for free or so. So these are the software tools that we would recommend. If you have more, please feel free to share them in the chat with the others, so that you can build kind of a resource list that you can share among yourselves.
Also,
yes.
just to add there, if you want to figure out, or if you're not familiar with one of them and want to figure out how to use it, also, yeah, don't hesitate. We can provide, as I told you in the previous workshop last week, we are preparing a list of resources, and this is something that we can definitely include if you will be interested in.
Yeah. And of course, if you don't want to talk to us, fine. There are tremendous amounts of YouTube tutorials that you can, of course, also use. Yeah, so have a look at them. We recommend them. See what works for you. And with this, we are going to leave the infrastructure section and go for flexibility. We're going to start with a quote again, this time from Frida Kahlo. Nothing is absolute. Everything changes, everything moves, everything revolves, everything flies and goes away. And boy, oh boy, I never related so much to this quote, never more than in my work in an NGO and a science initiative, because everything is flexible. And yeah, and you have to build it all for yourself, and things change because people change and capacities change and stuff changes. And I just want to come back to what Diana did the last week, and this is the vision map that you had probably that you worked on. And you see the vision map, they set the vision statement, success factors, bold steps, support. But what we are mainly interested in is the challenges. The challenges, what does not work or what could go wrong? Because in the challenges, the flexibility really comes in. You I don't know about your organization, but our organization deals with challenges all the time. People are moving, capacities are limited. I don't know. But what we would like from you to know, how could you tackle challenges like, for example, capacity, commitment, what we just had from Lamis? Are people just there to be tagged along? What is going on? Communication. And I think we have 20 more minutes. Maybe we can do a short breakout room with like 5 minutes where you can talk about the challenges that you're having and how you could tackle them. Just a brainstorming between you. Maybe also with 3 people.
Yeah, I will, just try to move some people around, because in some we had like 4 people.
Yes, but this is also working. Just
okay. I'll just open
if you're
the rooms.
4, just think about what challenges are you facing as an organization, and what ideas do you and the others have to tackle them? A bit like what we just did here in the main room.
So I think now
Yes.
you should be able to see the rooms, and yeah, people are joining. And I'll hit record because the conversation it was really good, and I'm sad that it wasn't recorded. But Emmanuel, you wanted to say something, I think.
No, I think you've said all this. I was trying to say that it's a bit tough sometimes because you have to like consistently be adapting, right? There is no kind of fixed way to go about things, so we are always consistently adapting. I think when Diana was talking about the fact that you need to ask people their roles and etc., I was like, that's exactly what we did at the beginning at Aaron.
Yeah.
But then still people kind of don't turn up. They chose the roles themselves, but then eventually they don't turn up. And when you are working with people that are spread across the continent, and the only way you can contact them is through email. When the email doesn't get a reply, you are stuck, right? So eventually you have to find a way to do all those things yourself. So it's like you want to keep it going because you get something started and you don't want to disappoint the people that signed up or that joined. So it's like you eventually have a lot of load that initially you didn't anticipate you had because you thought you're going to work with a large group. So it's not really easy sometimes. But then, yeah, we are learning to slow down, like Diana said. I mean, there's a conversation we've had internally that we have to find a way to slow down so that we don't burn out. So we are learning that bit by bit, but it doesn't come easy.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think the others are here, are back here as well. So as you may have just heard, because you dropped in our conversation, we also had a bit of a conversation about challenges and how to tackle them in the main room. Was a lot about capacities, because I don't know about your organization, but in our organization, this is one of the main things that we are struggling with. And I hope you had a good conversation. If you want to, you can share some insights that you had in the chat with the others while we're going on. Oh, no, Paul is raising his hand, please.
Thank you very much. In breakout room 2, we discussed at length, and we discovered that in some communities, we only have few active ones, and it usually happens. So everyone will not all be active. We have slow starters that in the end, when the few ones that are not really moving, or the majority that are not really moving in the start of the community, by the time they see results, people appreciate, people celebrate success. So they want to join. They want to be actively involved in whatever one is doing. Yes, but generally we discover that in a community, there is no how we can that we can just say that some will not be active. We know majority will be inactive. But then we should keep on reminding as leaders, as members, We move on with the committed ones first, but we reach out to those that are not really active. That's from our own breakout room too.
That is a great insight. I love it. I love this. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. In group 4, we discussed many challenges, but I would like to highlight about 3 or 4 major ones. I think one, we looked at infrastructure, which is still poor, especially in our environments, whether ICT or physical infrastructure. And that one, of course, is a big challenge. The other one is resistance, especially when we, in regard to open science, here in Africa, most countries, people still think that they want to own their knowledge. They want to keep it private to them. So it is something that we need to keep pushing and raising awareness. Then the other one was also inadequate funds. Every vision that you want to enhance requires funds. And we discovered that in this era where competition is very high, those who are strong will still take the small funds available, and the small ones will continue to struggle. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, it's really about like how also do you want to work and what do you want to do? I really like the insights that you're having, and I hope also the other breakout rooms had some enlightened moments. And with this, as we only have 7 minutes left, I want to go to the next slides. I have to share the screen again because I wanted not to like all have that all again. So, and this next slide that you're seeing here, in general, if you want to learn more about leadership and about leadership in the modern age, I really, really, really recommend you to look up Margaret J. Wheatley. She is great. She's a great leadership researcher and also investigates leadership in different circumstances. So, and from her, the next quote is, "Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful." And as you may have seen, our workshops work a lot with reflection. What you did during this workshop is a lot about reflecting about yourself, about your organization, about how to move on. And there are, of course, different tools that you can use to reflect, and we will go through some and talk about them. There are some that you can do on an individual level. And one of them that I love to do is meditation. So you meditate about something, which is just taking the time, going inward, see what's happening there with you. Or journaling. If you have a challenge, it really helps to just sit down and write down what you are thinking, what you're feeling, what is happening inside you when you think about this challenge. Yes, of course, Clara, leave for a meeting. I hope you could take something out there, out of the workshop. And of course, we will provide the slides so that you can look them up. So these are tools to reflect on an individual level, or just think about what you're doing, what we did here. But also you can do this in your community on a group level. One is to have a group discussion, very similar to the breakout rooms that we just had, where you take a topic that you want to discuss and have a discussion about that. What do you think? What is my stand on this? What could we do about it? And there is one tool we want to give you on your group level, on your community level, which is a retrospective. What are retrospectives? So retrospectives is a method that you can apply with your team, and you should do this in regular intervals where you look back on what you have done, what went well, and what did not. Why would you do this? So The first thing is it gives you the possibility to reflect. No, we're talking about reflection. This is what we want to achieve. It gives you also the possibility to adapt, to see, okay, how can we change our behavior in the future? What would work better? But it also gives you the possibility to celebrate. We were just touching these a few times because celebration is super, super important. No, if you reach a milestone, celebrate it. Sometimes, especially when you start a community and everything is chaotic, you tend to forget that also celebrations are needed to keep motivated, to keep driven for the team that you're having. We just had a retrospective on Saturday with SciLead, and we were super stoked afterwards. So it's a good thing to do. I can just really recommend it. But now, how do you do this? It's actually pretty simple. How to do it? You gather around with your team, and then you take around 30 minutes. There are different ways to do a retrospective. And if you go online and look for retrospective template, you get like a list which goes from here to, I don't know, London or so. But one of the simplest and most effective that you can do is the stop, start, and continue retrospective. You ask yourself, stop, what should not be continued? What was bad? What should we just omit the next time? Okay, the light goes out here. Then start. What could help the next time? What could we do different the next time? And continue. What worked really well and should be kept? You ask these 3 questions, you collect the answers, and you stick to them in the next project that you're having. And this is the easiest way to see that you can also go on with your project and evaluate and adapt to the circumstances that you're in, because you will see that there are challenges like capacities, communication, and so on. This is a time where you can reflect on that and adapt to better be equipped for the challenges that you're facing. And with this, we arrived at the end of this workshop, and I just want to wrap it up very quickly. And I also want to wrap up the other workshops that we did. So what was this like 3-week leadership thing all about? First of all, we looked at basic concepts of leadership, like your competencies and skill. I see also Miro. Yeah, Diana, thanks for the Miro template for retrospective. This is awesome. You can use it. Basic concept, your competencies and skills, your leadership style, how do you want to lead? In the second workshop, we looked at struggles and defining which stage your group is. And here we had like a bit of a highlight session about tools that you can use, things you can consider in building the community. And with this, I hope to hear of all of your communities a lot in the future. And what I would love to have is to have a quick roti for, you did that already with Verena and Diana. Give us a little number from 1 to 5 if you think this was a workshop that was great. Give us a 5. If you think, oh my gosh, I should have just went out and do anything else, give us a 1. Just write it in the chat. And if you have anything that we should start doing or stop doing, please also write it in the chat, because this is a retrospective for us as well. Oh, nice, a 10. 5, 5. We're very happy with this. If you have wishes, send them to us. You can also send them to us later, because this is, I can just show you, these are the ways that you can reach us if you want to get in contact. We would love to. We would also love to hear from you. If you have any questions, you can ask them, because now we said it's going to 6, so it is 6. We can close the session now. But if you have any remaining questions, please contact us in any way you want.
Yeah, I also want to encourage you one more time. If there something specific that you would like us to include in the resource document that we will share with Lamis within the next days, we're compiling all the resources from the 3 workshops. Please let us know, or let her know, so she can reach out to us and we can include it for you guys. And yeah, so you can have, of course, what we cover was a quick overview. If you would like to take a deeper dive into each of the tools, resources, frameworks, or exercises that we talked about, that's the purpose of this resource document. So you can, we're planning to share with you links, articles, so you can deep dive and into any particular topic that it was covered or mentioned during the 3 series. And yeah, that's it from my side, and it was super nice to have you here. Thank you for your time and your collaboration.
We thank you because, to be honest, this was just amazing. This was just amazing. And I really love, what I love is your training is really suited, for those who are starting from the graduate, because we do have a lot of, like, you see leadership trainings, but there's somehow you feel they are not talking to us, currently trying to start, so thank you very much. This was simply amazing, and I think you can see in the chat, everyone was really excited and happy, and it was an honor for us to have you here. Thank you very much. And I'm sure I hope this will not be the last time. I hope that we'll be able to, as the time goes, to collaborate more and help each other in other projects. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we would love that. And thanks for inviting us here. It was an honor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, definitely in the future workshops we are gonna add now the Allen logo here in our
thank you.
It is.
Yeah, it is there.
It is
yeah,
there.
it's true. It's already there. Yeah, it's already there. I didn't see it. No, this is how. Yeah, this is for us. Networking and collaborating with other initiatives has been a great way of working. You mentioned it very well last session, Lamis. I think it was a conversation between the two of us that. As grassroots voluntary initiatives, time is very limited, and we do not have to reinvent the wheel. If there's somebody out there who is doing it better,
why not?
Exactly.
Yes.
Why not reach out and ask for help? We have all have different developmental stages as initiatives, so we definitely understand, and we are genuinely talking from experience, and sharing what has worked from us for us, and hoping it can work for you as well.
Yeah, that exactly what I said. This is what I love. It's your sessions really talk to us. It's really, realistic for someone who is in the grassroots trying to build something from scratch. So yeah, again, thank you very much, and we hope to see you again very soon. And we can close the curtains on this session. Bye-bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Au revoir.